Okay, thank you. So an official good morning to everybody. Thanks for joining the Long-Term Care Planning Committee meeting this morning. This meeting is being recorded and will be posted on the Long-Term Care Planning Committee webpage. So if you wouldn't mind to help us with the quality of the recording, if you could please stay muted unless speaking. And then when you do speak, if you could just start off by giving your name, that would be very helpful. I'm going to do a quick roll call. For those of you who missed our kind of preamble to the meeting, there are some March is always a difficult meeting for us to achieve quorum because it's always falls obviously during legislative session, and today we happen to be having the Aging Committee and Human Services both with committee action going on. So we're a little late today because folks have to prep for that. But we do have a presentation or an update that we will get to on the development of the multi-sector plan on aging and disability. And we'll have comments from our colleagues at the Long-Term Care Advisory Council. And then I have an update that I would like to give as well. So with that, I will begin the roll call. Could you please mute whoever's not muted, please mute yourself. Thank you. Okay. Amy Dumont. William Seals. Margie Gerundo Marquette.
Here.
Thank you. Kelly Kendall. I know Erin Levitt-Smith cannot be with us today. Barbara Cass.
Good morning, Melissa. Present.
Thank you. Commissioner Porter has to be elsewhere today. Jessica Rival.
Good morning.
Good morning, Jessica. Lisa Rivers. I think she had to actually attend something today as well. Michael Santoro.
Present and accounted for.
Hey, Michael. And Laura Watson.
Morning.
Good morning, Laura. So let's see, then we have, and I know these folks aren't going to be here, Senator Huckadell, Representative Garibay, Senator Seminara, Representative Mitch Belinsky. He actually did send his regrets for being unable to be here today. Senator Anwar, Representative McCarthy-Vahey. I thought I saw Representative McCarthy-Vahey here. We lost her. Okay. Let's see. Senator Summers, Representative Clarice Detria, Senator Lesser, Representative Gilchrist, and Representative Case. Okay. All right, great. So thanks, everybody. With that, we don't have a quorum, so we're not going to be able to actually vote on our minutes today. So we'll have to table that for the June meeting. When we usually get our whole gang back together for the legislative session wrap up. But before we dive into the parts of the agenda we do have, I wanted to make an announcement that I'm thrilled to make, which is that, as you all know, previous staff to the Long-Term Care Planning Committee, Heather Ferguson Hull from our office, received a well-deserved promotion and is still with our office. We didn't let her go, but she's now focusing on coordinating services for individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities. And she's already doing a fantastic job in that role. we went through a recruitment process, and my colleague Cody Clark was kind enough to fill in the gap while we were in the recruitment process and help staff this committee for the last meeting while we were kind of in between staff. And I'm happy today to introduce to all of you our new permanent staff member, Elise Pearson. Elise comes to us with years of experience in the field of intellectual and developmental disability services. She worked over at Allied, not on the fiscal intermediary side, but on the community services side. And she most recently is coming to us from working a couple years at the Department of Developmental Services. So we are thrilled to have Elise joining us as a planning analyst in our HHS division. Among her many duties will be helping to staff this committee, but she's also going to be working on development of the 3-year long-term care plan with all of you, the annual updates. She's also going to be staffing our personal care attendant workforce council and taking over some of the duties in that role. So I am personally thrilled to welcome Elise, and we have to be extra nice to her because she just started Friday. So she's just getting her feet wet. Elise, I don't know if you just want to say a quick hello.
Hi, everyone. Thank you. And I'm really looking forward to working with you all.
Great, thank you. Okay, so as I said, we're going to table the adoption of the minutes because we don't have a quorum. So we will circle back, make a note to circle back to that at our June meeting. Upcoming long-term care planning committee activities. I do want to flag for everyone, if you can believe it, our 3-year plan is expiring. It is time this April. We will begin planning for the next 3-year plan that is due January 1st of 2025. We plan to do what we do in every year, where we solicit innovative projects and things you might want highlighted in the next 3-year plan. We will ask the committee to please review the recommendations, both long range and short term, that are in the existing plan, and see if there are any that we need to tweak or to add or delete, as we do every year. Last year, we started also sending out a community survey to stakeholder groups and holding some focus groups. And that was really, really successful and went a long way to informing the plan and making it something that was useful and hopefully spoke to the larger long-term services and support system, and more importantly, to those whom the system is designed to serve. So we're looking to continue that and perhaps even grow the number of focus groups that we're able to hold this year. And, you know, as soon as we let Elise get through her first week, she's going to be starting on planning for updating the next plan. So as you know, some homework goes out over the next few months to all of you, sort of in chunks. So the first will be, you're likely going to get the chart that we ask every year for folks to just update any projects, programs, legislation that their agency has seen passed that affects them, that addresses each of the recommendations in the plan. So then after we get that done, the next thing to go out will be the Appendix G of the plan, and that's the place where everyone, we highlight for you, and you just go through and update the demographic information for each of the programs listed. Usually it's number of clients served, race, ethnicity, marital status, etc., for various projects as you have the data available. And then you can add programs that perhaps have begun in the last 3 years that aren't captured, and you can delete ones that may have sunset. So that is the heaviest lift for you guys, those two things, because there's a financial component to the program part, and then there's the program demographic component. So that we really request your help. We'll try to be cognizant to give you enough time to respond. It's never ideal to be sending things out during session and, asking for help over the summer. It's just the timing of how this plan works. But we'll try to give you enough time that you can coordinate with staff who you might need to pull the data from. But I just wanted to flag that that is on its way, and to get you to start thinking about reflecting on the old plan and thinking about if there's anything you might want to see in the new plan. One thing I want to flag for everybody is that our current plan's goal was to reach 75% of individuals in the community being served by Medicaid in the community versus 25% in an institution by 2025. This next plan, obviously, starts January 1st of 2025. So we will be at the end of that goal. So we might have to, for the first time since 2007, actually stop and reevaluate that goal, which is one of the two main goals of the entire plan. The other was to have the Medicaid funding follow the same percentage as clients served. So we'll see if we make it. We probably will be close, but not quite there. So thinking about if we want to extend that goal out a little bit to the end of the current long-term care plan. But it's just kind of neat to finally hit that 2025 milestone and get to reflect on how far we've come, because we really have made quite a bit of progress. From 39% to 70% of individuals served in the community is pretty great. Any questions about upcoming activity? Okay, then. At our last meeting, Margie Gerondo-Marquette from the State Unit on Aging and Alyssa Norwood of the AgeWell Collaborative were good enough to present to everyone on Connecticut's planning efforts regarding the potential of developing a multi-sector plan on aging and disability. And at the conclusion of that presentation, we had a discussion and a Q&A period, and it was decided that since should a plan move forward, feedback from all the state agencies involved in health and human services will be critical, that it would be helpful to keep updates on the planning for a multi-sector plan as a standing item on the agenda, and allow Margie and Alyssa an opportunity to provide updates, solicit feedback, and for all of you to ask any questions that you might have. I think it's also important, as we're all updating our own state plans and as we enter this new planning phase for the 3-year long-term care plan, that we stay on top of other sweeping planning efforts that might be going on, so that we can work to coordinate and not duplicate efforts. So with that being said, Margie and Alyssa, I turn it over to you.
Awesome. Thanks, Melissa. And thanks everybody for, letting Alyssa and me come back and give some updates. And I'll do a little recap. Alyssa and I have been working together with a small team in Connecticut, and I see Michael Werner on the meeting here, and he's included as well, to explore developing a multi-sector plan for aging and disability. And we're part of a national learning collaborative through the Center for Healthcare Strategies. So we did provide that introduction in December, so we did think a recap might be helpful. So across the country, many states are in various stages of exploring, developing, or implementing a multi-sector plan for aging and disability. And an MPA is a valuable roadmap that helps states transform policy, infrastructure, and service coordination for our growing aging population and people with disabilities. And an MPA is a cross-sector strategic planning resource, and it brings together stakeholders to outline a clear framework for addressing the needs of older adults, people with disabilities, and family caregivers. And it incorporates an aging and disability lens across state priorities and planning. And it's really viewed as a whole government effort, not just those agencies that regularly work with older adults and people with disabilities. It really goes beyond those traditional aging services and includes transportation, employment, housing, emergency planning, and all those aspects of community livability. So here on this slide, there are broad goals of an MPA. It provides a framework to plan for 10 years. It does transform infrastructure. It reflects extensive input from the community and values lived experience. It incorporates an aging and disability lens across state agency priorities and planning. It really can build bridges across government agencies and departments. It improves coordination of service and ensures ongoing accountability and evaluation. So in other words, once implemented, we look at what we did and are people better off. So the other part of this slide, the MPA is really designed to lift up and strengthen existing plans, not duplicate them. As Melissa alluded to, looking at all of the different plans that our state agencies have is so helpful. It elevates common goals and connections across initiatives, and North Carolina's example here shows how the MPA pulls together the existing plans in their state across common goals of those plans. So in Connecticut, looking at the long-term services and supports plan and looking at the state plan on aging and coordinating those, and the MPA is really bigger than any one agency plan. So in California, they had an executive order back in 2020 from their governor to develop a master plan for aging, and theirs is a 10-year blueprint for advancing a California for all ages and abilities. And the first year was 2021, and every 2 years they commit to new initiatives and build on the previous 2 years' work. So they are now working on their 2023-2024 initiatives. They have 95 of them. They also have an outline of 5 bold goals for their overarching master plan. And they have 23 strategies to build a California for all ages by 2030, sorry. And California went through a process around, getting steering committees together, work groups, stakeholder advisory committees, and so many other groups to really come up with their plan. And these 5 bold goals: housing for all ages and stages, health reimagined. And in looking at their plan, that really looks like where the long-term services and supports fits in, inclusion and equity, not isolation, caregiving that works, and affording aging. And California also has a local MPA playbook to encourage partnerships to implement the MPA locally. And I think Alyssa is going to share a little bit more on that investment at the local level. And while there's an important role for state agencies, it involves a range of stakeholders and partnerships at the community level, which really makes for a great fit for the Connecticut Age Well Collaborative and the work they do with municipalities. So I'll turn it over to Alyssa to talk about the next piece.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Margie. And to those that I didn't meet or see last time, my name is Alyssa Norwood. I'm director of the Connecticut Age Well Collaborative, and we're an initiative of Connecticut Community Care. So to echo what Margie said, this really is a beautiful tent in which everyone can sit, and all kinds of exciting cross connections can happen across sectors, across silos, and across different levels of government. So Margie mentioned some of this in the beginning, but we're part of this multi-state learning collaborative that's being spearheaded by a national organization called the Center for Healthcare Strategies. We're in the second cohort of 10 states this year, learning together, growing together, sharing resources back and forth, and really getting the pulse on what's happening in similarly situated states across the country. The way the Learning Collaborative is set up is we applied, we were accepted, and up to 6 representatives from Connecticut could sit on the collaborative. So from state government, I won't read them all, but you'll see the box off to the right. And in addition to Margie, I just want to note and celebrate OPM's involvement via the Intergovernmental Planning and Policy Division and our coordination with Rep. Becca Auger and the work happening on the state plan and conservation and development. So the Connecticut Age Well Collaborative, we're delighted to have what we think is a really important role in all of this because we're the connectors between what's happening at the state agency level and on the ground with local government, which is where most of our work has happened to date, and lived experience. So many of you might have seen this graphic before. It's our hallmark. It's obviously really important to the work of long-term care and understanding that to be successful in rebalancing and to make sure that we have robust home and community-based services, that the community is a partner in ensuring that our towns are places that people can thrive across the lifespan. So while there's a lot of really important investment in community and social services, this is a holistic map that we look at with local elected officials, municipal staff, and community members to think holistically about what does it look like to be successful living in community as we age or with a disability. So our framework is based on an international framework from the World Health Organization, which we adopted for Connecticut. And the Connecticut Age Well Collaborative itself, through a memorandum of agreement, is implementing the state statutory Livable Communities Initiative. Some of you might be familiar with it. It's about 10 years old. I used to have the privilege of leading it when I was at what used to be the Commission on Aging as part of the legislative branch of government. So now continuing that work through a 5-pillar plan and germane to these efforts around multi-sector planning for aging and disability, I just wanted to focus on 2 pillars of our work, which one is a campaign that we're leading called Embrace Every Age, Every Ability, and the other is a program called the Community Leaders Fellowship, which is about building community authority and lived experience. So the campaign is predicated on the idea that we all have certain mental modes around aging and disability, and most of them are rooted in this paradigm of otherizing. They get older, they do things differently. I can do things they can't, and it can create this kind of divisive energy within ourselves and within a community. So the Every Age, Every Ability campaign is really an invitation to look deeply at our closely held implicit beliefs and have honest conversations about what it is to live in the reality that we all have changing minds and changing bodies. So we just launched what we hope is going to be a statewide movement with lots of different steps that you can look and learn more about on our website. The 2 things that I'd share with all of you is, one, we have a conversation guide that anyone can download that has a series of posters that have a lot of really age and disability positive language around being capable, thriving, connected, as well as a series of discussion questions. And we also just put out a call for applications to municipal government to host a series of what we're calling Daring Dialogues. They're 2.5-hour sessions that bring together people with lived experience in aging, disability, and then also municipal staff. We had our first one yesterday attended by the mayor of Wethersfield and his staff, and it was an incredible success. So if your community is interested in applying, applications are open now. The other program that we launched last year, and we're in our 2nd year now, is called the Community Leaders Fellowship. And it's about inviting municipal government into partnership with people with lived experience and helping build their community authority over the long term so that there's a sustained, trusted relationship and partnership between government and the community. So rather than resting wholly in this community-informed paradigm, where most of us live, where we go, we send out a survey, we get information, and we move forward. This is really about a sustained and ongoing partnership between the community, compensating community members with lived experience and helping them advance a project in town that promotes aging, dementia, and disability inclusivity. So our application is currently open for that program as well for towns that want to participate. And I'm now going to turn it back over to Margie, who's excited about how that machinery that we've been building and cultivating for the past 1.5 years could potentially seed success in a way that positions us really as a thought leader in the country around multi-sector planning for aging and disability, and also some of the work happening in other states that can inform Connecticut. So Margie, I'll turn it back over to you.
Thanks, Alyssa. And it's been so helpful in our collaborative to really get a sense of what's happening around the country and really learn from what other states are doing. And states are really at various places in developing a multi-sector plan. Some have an executive order or legislation. Others are in the process of developing or implementing. Some are just fostering development. So this map gives you a good sense of what's happening. Even if they're grayed out, they may still be doing something and just haven't announced it yet. Those with the star in the map are those of us who are part of this MPA Learning Collaborative. So it really keeps changing. So the map keeps getting updated as states move through the phases. We just heard that, Utah came out with a draft the other day. So things keep changing. It's really exciting to see what's happening around the country. And then I think we have a map of where Connecticut is in the second cohort, as Alyssa had shared. And we're considered in the fostering development or getting started because we really still are just exploring, but again, learning from so many other states. And some updates from when we met in December. Maryland is part of our learning cohort and definitely further down the line in their planning. But they have an executive order now, and it was signed in January, and it established the Longevity Ready Maryland Initiative. And the plan will coordinate and build upon their existing efforts across their state agencies, their private and philanthropic sectors, and other stakeholders to address challenges throughout the lifespan, including access to employment opportunities, a robust care workforce, adequate caregiver support, equitable health care. Those are the things that they're focusing on. And their Longevity Ready Maryland plan will take a whole of life approach, and they plan to publish it in mid-2025. So that's a new development in Maryland since we last met. And then in Pennsylvania, who's also part of our learning cohort as well, and quite far along, they had an executive order last year, and they developed their MPA and released it for public comment last month. It's called Aging Our Way PA, and it's a plan for lifelong independence. And the Pennsylvania Department of Aging began the MPA work once the executive order was signed last year, and they had to get going quickly because they didn't have a lot of time, but pulled together their aging network, and they have 52 area agencies on aging. They pulled together their senior centers and a much larger network to put their draft plan together. And I thought I'd mention one of the core tenets of their plan, and to quote it, is a reframe of how we think, talk about, and value older adults and people with disabilities to recognize the momentum, experience, longevity, economic contributions, and wisdom of older adults and people with disabilities, and how these individuals add energy, vitality, and possibility to Pennsylvania. Really great core tenets that they had to really anchor their plan. Those are the types of things that we want to learn from, and to pull all the work together that's already happening in Connecticut. And I love that Every Age, Every Ability campaign that the Age Well Collaborative is doing to really try to bring the positivity and awareness to aging and ways to reframe aging. So the focus of the Pennsylvania plan is really to establish priorities that are going to transform their aging services system to promote health, well-being, and independence over their 10-year period. And their priorities are built on a stakeholder-driven approach. So these are the types of things that are happening in other states, and we keep getting updates as to what's going on. And the newest one, which is related to the MPA, so I think many of you know the State Unit on Aging is primarily federally funded through the Older Americans Act, and the Older Americans Act was last authorized in 2020, and it's due to expire this September 30th. So Congress is drafting a bill to reauthorize the Older Americans Act. And there was federal legislation that was introduced at the end of February, shown here, 3827, called the Strategic Plan for Aging Act, which would create a new grant program under the Older Americans Act to incentivize and support states' efforts to create strategic plans for aging, or MPAs. So this is a really exciting opportunity, and they're really taking a look at this on a national level. And the details in the bill include awarding grants to states to create or continue to develop their own MPA. And I watched them in the Senate Help Committee last week, and they were talking about drafting the reauthorization of the Older Americans Act, and the committee brought up this particular bill and looking to push through this type of legislation as part of the reauthorization. So I wanted to mention that, and I'll pass it to you, Alyssa.
Thank you. So I just wanted to name and celebrate first the Connecticut Age Well Collaborative. A lot of its success is through a partnership between philanthropic funding and also leveraging time-limited state resources. So the State Department of Aging and Disability Services, as a result of ARPA funding, had certain funds available that they won't going forward, that they were able to invest and seed in this work. And I just wanted to share what's happening in some other states as we talk about what ongoing investment in Connecticut might look like. So predicated, these are both states that already have a lot of strength in this area. So this is kind of what like a next phase looks like. But the California legislature from 2022 to 2025 made a $4.5 million investment over those 3 years in a program to be able to help communities at the local level plan and develop their own local age and disability friendly plans. That's one stream of funding that's been successful. And then the other is in the state of Washington. We know that the Washington legislature appropriated over $500,000 over 2 years through the lens of workforce development. So we're all challenging with struggles in the workforce. So this investment was actually for them to create a campaign to disrupt ageism and ableism as a workforce development strategy. And there wasn't any intentional research on these funding investments. We didn't find this out through the center. This is the result of the fact that when the Connecticut Age Well Collaborative released its campaign, Every Age and Every Ability, last week, that the states of California, Washington, and Massachusetts all contacted us wanting to know more about our campaign and how they might be able to use it and adopt it to their ends. So we're really excited, we're really pleased, and this is obviously really germane to the work of long-term care rebalancing. One, because it helps make rebalancing successful. People can only thrive in receiving home and community-based services if the communities in which they're receiving those services are supportive of a lifespan approach. And also the broad framework in which we operate really helps lift up and leverage efficiencies. So states that have MPA work happening at both the state and the local level are able to really leverage existing assets and investments and make cross connections. So by way of one example, we're finding in our conversations locally that there are lots of folks that aren't adequately connecting to the existing municipal resources available. So we're seeking, how do we overcome those barriers to help people be more successful in receiving services at home? So that's our update. And the last thing I just wanted to add before we add into questions is that Emily Holquest is with us today, and that she joined us a couple of weeks ago as our planning and policy consultant. She's going to be with us for the next couple of months, providing some additional support and doing some additional research for us as Connecticut hopefully moves forward with this effort. So Emily, I just wanted you to be able to say hello.
Hi, everybody. I'm really excited to do this work. I am an urban planner by background, so the MPA is a really unique opportunity, I think, for the state to be working on. So excited to work on it.
Great. Thank you so much, Alyssa and Margie, for the very informative update and presentation. Sounds like Connecticut is continuing to plan and make progress. And I just had one question, and then I'll open it up to the group to see if anyone else has questions. Is Connecticut still in the phase of discovery and feasibility testing? Are we any closer to saying, okay, next year or by such and such a date, we want to launch into the official development of a multi-sector plan? Just like to hear, like, on the continuum of development, where exactly Connecticut falls right now.
So it feels like we're getting ready. This is,
Okay.
we've done a lot of research. It's great to have Emily helping with some of the research too, because, we've all been kind of, jumping in and trying to pull it together where we can. The collaborative ends in just a couple of months, and, we really feel like this has been a springboard for us to really decide, okay, how is this going to look moving forward, and what exactly can happen over the next year, and what are our steps to get there? So yes, I feel like we did that research phase. We've got a lot to go on. It's great to learn from other people who have done this. And now we're getting to that place where we're ready to, really make a plan. How is this going to work in Connecticut, and how can we do this with the resources that we have, and and move forward with it? So yes, I feel like our group has kind of gotten to that place, and Alyssa, I'll let you jump in too.
Yeah, I guess I'll add in that Connecticut's unique for many reasons, but we're unique in this space in that there is no other state that we know of that began this process with the equivalent of a Connecticut Age Well Collaborative already in place. So although we haven't, quote, begun the plan, all of the steps that other steps have taken to make it successful have been manifest in our work, bringing diverse sectors together, creating a narrative that disrupts ageism and ableism, helping people see the connection between long-term care and community conditions, lifting up lived experience. So even though we don't have an executive order, we've sort of done what a lot of states have done. That's the beginning of a process. So where we are right now, one, we have spoken to states that kind of move forward with creating a framework without having the funding to support it. So we know states that got the executive order passed and then really struggled with implementation because the resources hadn't been committed. So we wanted to commit to a process that made sure that the resources were in place first before there were any sort of commitments on the book. So, maybe Elise, once you're more settled, Elise, you and Melissa and Margie and I, and whoever the appropriate partners are, we could think about what, in the context of the next legislative session and understanding budgetary constraints, what a realistic sustainability path forward would be. And then from that platform, we could talk more about what the implementation would look like.
Sounds good. Thank you. Okay, anybody else have questions for Margie or Alyssa? Everyone just wants to watch the public hearings. No, seriously, I mean, it was a very thorough presentation. I think you've given us a lot to think about. I think it'll be important to keep all this in mind as we move forward with developing the next 3-year plan, and what can we start identifying in this plan that can feed in and help move the state toward the development of a multi-sector plan on aging and disability that is more broad and more long-term and large. How can we make sure that we're all working together, in other words, and that the two plans coordinate? So I think that would be fantastic. So I thank you both so much. If it would be at all possible to send me that slide deck, I'll post it up for folks. You could just shoot me an email and I'll make sure it gets on our website so that anyone who couldn't make it today can take a look at it. And I actually want to look back on it myself. It had a lot of good detail in there. So thanks so much.
Thanks, Melissa.
Thanks, Deb.
Okay. Well, Deb's dog wants to join the meeting.
Yes. I also want to name that Doug McNaught is a member of the Connecticut Age Well Collaborative Steering Committee and has been an invaluable voice and partner in helping us move forward.
Excellent. Okay, so with that, I'm going to move us on to member updates and announcements. Do any members of the committee have any announcements or updates that they would like to provide? Sure, Michael.
Thanks, Melissa, and good morning, everyone. Just wanted to make everybody aware, if you are not already, we have an upcoming state roundtable on our department's action plan in support of our consolidated plan for housing and community development. It's the 5th of our 5-year annual action plans in support of that consolidated plan. It details our priorities and preferences for the coming formula grants that we expect to get on or after July 1st of 2024. Look forward to any and all of you participating. If you have not and are not representing your agency at the state roundtable, please reach out to Laura Watson, who's also on the call here. She'll send you a link to the meeting. I'd love to have your participation. Our consolidated plan and the supporting annual action plans lay out what we do with those formula grants. At the same time, we are getting ready to launch our 5-year planning activity. That is our planning activity for our next 5-year consolidated plan. That new consolidated plan will be effective July 1 of 2025. We are a little behind in that planning process, but we'll be ramping up pretty quickly. We look forward to your agency's participations in that planning process as well. Thanks, Melissa. Any questions? Happy to answer them, or please reach out to myself or Laura after, and happy to have a conversation.
Sure. And Laura or Michael, if there's a link or anything you want me to send to the group or anything public you want me to put on the Long-Term Care Planning Committee webpage or circulate to everyone on our mailing list, let me know. I'd be happy to do that to support your efforts.
Thanks. Laura will send you the link to the notice. Thank you.
Excellent. Thanks. Anybody else? Any other members? Yes, Margie.
Thanks, Melissa. So our new 3-year state plan on aging starts in October. And as a follow-up to my update in December, so we hosted 8 in-person listening sessions and 1 virtual session to seek stakeholder input on areas of interest or concern for older adults in Connecticut. Our focus was on 3 areas: long-term services and support, healthy aging, and elder rights. So several hundred people attended the listening sessions. We got a lot of really good input and feedback for the plan. There are more opportunities to provide suggestions for the plan. You can send us an email. I'll just put that in the chat in case you had anything else, and anything else you thought of or weren't able to attend the listening sessions. We're still taking input on that as well. So we will be working on our draft. Thanks.
Excellent. Thank you. Okay. Any other member updates? Great. So we're all clearly in full planning mode right now, it appears. With that, I will turn it over to Michael Werner from the Long-Term Care Advisory Council to see if he has any comments he'd like to share with the group today.
Hello, good morning, everyone. Thank you so much, Melissa, and thank you to Margie and Alyssa for their update on the Age Well Collaborative's efforts and also the multi-sector plan on aging. It's a really great project. I just put into the chat an article from last week on WNPR regarding compensation for family caregivers at both at the Commission on Women, Children, Seniors, Equity, and Opportunity, as well as the Long-Term Care Advisory Council. This is something we're very supportive of and cognizant of, and particularly House Bill 5296 and 5001 together really serve to promote this home and community-based ecosystem, promote rebalancing, and make great strides to help people age well in place at home. So we're really excited about that, and we would ask you to share this article with your networks. And also, I do believe you should be able to still submit at least written testimony on particularly 5296 if possible. That would be wonderful. And we are having our Long-Term Care Advisory Council meeting tomorrow at 1. We'll be hearing from different members and stakeholders about different updates for them. And other than that, I really appreciate the opportunity to speak with you all today, Melissa. Thank you kindly.
Thanks, Michael. Appreciate it. Okay, so is there any other business that members would like to bring before the committee today? Okay, hearing none, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Oh, just one moment. I see public
Oh.
comment. Deborah, did you want to make a comment?
Hi, sorry. How do I take my hand down?
It's
Okay,
okay.
sorry. Hello, everyone. Hey, I just wanted to make a comment. And I hope everybody takes this with knowing my heart and all of this. So I was pretty upset with some of the language surrounding the big bill, the big House bill that is being used to describe our older adult population and the services and supports that are being discussed. The intent of the bill is great. Absolutely no problem with that, but I just see this constant paternalistic language related to older adults. And it's been a challenge for many, many years, but it seems like it's even worse than ever. And I just encourage, I don't think it's anyone on this group. I think we all have I think we all have I don't even know what the word is. We all should be challenged to push back on our legislators, on the journalists, on all of the people that are writing about this, to use language that is inclusive, that is not paternalistic, does not there's a lot of our elderly, protecting our elderly, and elder care isn't even a term that we should be really promoting and using. So I just want to put that out there. I think that we all everybody in this room does not use that language, but I just hope that we can carry that message forward and continue to say it. I know it's uncomfortable, but I hope that like I said, I hope everybody hears this with the intent that I put it forward to you, but wanted to mention that to this group because I do feel like we all have that responsibility.
And are you speaking about 5001 in particular?
Yes.
Yeah. So good to know.
And like there was
appreciate you
the Connecticut
sharing.
Mirror article.
Yeah.
That was great. But then all of the language, the quotes, that was just kind of upsetting, disturbing. Yeah.
Thanks, Deb.
Yep.
Okay, so with that, can I have a motion to adjourn? Anybody?
So moved.
Okay, thank you. Michael wants to go back to work. So Michael made a motion, second.
I'll second, Margie.
Okay, thanks, Margie. All in favor?
Aye.
Hi.
Okay, thanks, everybody. Have a great
great day.
Thank you for your
Thank you.
time.
Hi, everyone.